It's a great opportunity. You are going to learn everything about the music world, how to start, how to be successful, and how to strive in this world. With the great Professor Pooch. David, could you please introduce yourself and what you do for business?
Yeah, hi. My name's Professor Pooch, or that's what I'm known as in the music business. I've been full time in the music industry for 50 years, and I still look like I'm 25. Well, I definitely feel like I'm 25, and it's a great business to be in. Even in these crazy times, there's always things to do. I started out as a recording artist way back with the major labels at the time. That's all there was. There was no independent anything because there was no internet or anything like that at the time. So to make a very, very long story, very, very short, I found out, when I learned all about I could about the music industry while I was being an artist and stuff like that. But starting in 1980, I decided I liked the behind the scenes better. And people were coming to me, Pooch, help, get me out of this mess, or Pooch this, Pooch that. So starting in 1980, I started guiding people's careers and handling contract matters and things like that. Starting in 1991, I was asked to speak at the Art Institute of Philadelphia. I'm in here in Philadelphia, PA, USA. And I taught there, developed their courses in entertainment law, publishing, and management, taught there 13 years. And then I saw which way the music industry was going with the internet and decided to stop, worrying about getting people out of messes. Let's prevent people from getting into messes in the first place.
Yeah.
During that time, I've written 7 books and courses. It's an entire music business curriculum. You can find me at professorpooch.com or just put Professor Pooch in any of your uh, any web browser, and I show up. Yeah, I've been doing it. And just recently, the beginning of October, we started this, and you'll see it on my homepage. You can click to it. We started this podcast in audio and video. Video is on YouTube, audio is every place else. Podcast, it's called Life in the Music Business. And we discuss the important thing is not just learning the music business, but learning how to use it, to your favor by gaining the knowledge and then adding the creativity to the knowledge and turning it the way you want to turn it into. It does take effort. It does help to have talent.
Yeah, so my first question, you mentioned that you have learned about everything about music. What have you exactly learned about music during these years?
Well, what happened to me was a funny story. Back around 1970, somewhere around there, it was another lifetime ago. I had written this song, and all of a sudden I found out, wait a minute, when I looked at the records, there was only vinyl back then. My name wasn't on as the writer. So I decided I'm going to keep getting screwed up by people, or I should quit the business, or I should learn the business. So what I did was I was working out a lot out of New York City, which was the main hub of the music industry back then. And I learned all I could about the music industry. I learned by the School of Hard Knocks. There was no music business colleges back then. I do that for people now, by the way. I teach, have these personalized music business college things. And my thing is I realize I've been doing this 50 years. I realize that I'm not going to be doing it another 50 years. So I decided I want to get the information out there. I want to help as many people as I can. My big thing is trying to protect people from getting hurt in any way, shape, or form in the music industry.
Let's get a bit into details. What legal sides are engaged or are involved in this business?
Well, my main legal side, I'm not a lawyer, by the way. I taught a lot of lawyers. I'm an educator. That's where I look at myself. What I do is I handle a lot of contracts. And contracts can be good, they could be bad, they could be dangerous, they could be useless. They have to be written correctly, and the contracts are what protect people, because no matter what anybody tells you, I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to do that for you, and all that promises and stuff. It matters what's on the piece of paper.
Yeah.
That piece of paper says what really counts, in the music industry or any other business, really. Contracts, the written words, it always says in there someplace that this takes place of anything we've talked about before. So I protect people through contracts. My main thing is getting people to own their own stuff. It sounds funny. You created it. Well, how do you own it? Well, you make it so you sign contracts and you form your own music publishing company. That's for the underlying song. And you also sign with your own record company. That's for the recording. The song, this is one of those businesses, it's very strange in that there's two ends of it. There's the song, the underlying song, and then there's the recording of that song. They have totally different protections, different registrations, so you get paid, et cetera, et cetera.
From an entrepreneurial point of view, how to get started in this business?
Well, what I do is, and you can find this, by the way, information. If you go to professorpooch.com, in the far right tab, you'll see free library. And if you scroll down just a little on the right, it says Professor Pooch's 3-step music business plan of action. One of the biggest problems I see with people is they don't have a plan of action, a plan of attack. So what I do is I take them through 3 steps. The first step is to make sure that they're legally protected. In the United States, there's LLCs and corporations, and they're legally protected. They sign these contracts to themselves, et cetera. When that's in place, we do steps 2 and 3. Step 2 is make sure you're registered with everybody so you actually get paid. There's international organizations now formed. It was through the MMA, which is the Music Modernization Act, and the MLC, which is a music licensing collective that collects money throughout the world for you. There's also other places you have to sign in for, like for songwriting and publishing in the United States. There's ASCAP and BMI. Every country has their own thing. It's PRS in England, for example, and things like that. Now, where was I? And the third step, I listen to their music because the music tells me who they are. Because it's very important is your image, who you are as a performer. And from that, listening to the music, we work out a complete plan of action. You need a plan of action. I see people just throwing things up on Facebook. It doesn't work. It turns people off when you just keep throwing things at them. You want to work with your fans. And here's the big difference that's happened in the music industry through the years. Up until 1980, it was all about the music. Then there was these music videos starting in 1980 with MTV and other kinds of stations, networks, whatever. Then in the 2000s, then in the 80s, then it became about the image, the way you looked, the way you came across to your audience. They could see you. Then in 2000s, it became about the story. This happened to this person, this happens to that person. You read it all about it, the internet, the papers, and everything else. Nowadays, for the last few years, very important, it's about the fans, your fans that are going to be hopefully following you. They want to feel that they are part of your growing process. They want to be part of your family. And you got to treat your fans like family. When they say something to you on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever you're using, respond back. They want to feel that they are important. And sometimes people say, well, wait a minute, that's one person. Well, it's one fan at a time, folks. But if your music is really great, it has this effect of, they say, wow, this person's great, or this group's great, or whatever. And they tell everybody else. And there's nothing like word of mouth, which means, it's has the most integrity because it means they like you. You're good.
And what happens later on, like after you succeed at the first step? How to survive in this market?
Well, surviving, that's a large thing. Surviving is you got to keep at it. You always treat it like it's the first day of your music business. Keep at it. What's success? To me, success is not, you hear about these millions and millions of fans on these major labels and things like that and all that, but the money isn't trickling down from the major labels down to the artist, who's the low person. The last person to get paid is the artist. So you got to make sure that you're being protected, of course, and that you as an artist keep going at it, full steam ahead, putting that effort into it, putting that time into it, not taking things for granted. You want to be able to, it does take effort. But my thing is, would you rather use effort working for somebody else and making their dreams come true, or work for yourself and make your dreams come true?
Yeah, and where to get the motivation for long-term consistency and hard work?
Motivation is, you have to want it bad enough. It's the people that really want to make it. That's the funny part, is because I have this list of things that if I was a manager or if I was a record company, what I would look for in an artist. Number one is drive, ambition, passion for what you want to do. You got to want to do it. You can't go at it. It's not a, if you want it to be a hobby, fine, it's a hobby. But if you want people to take you seriously, you got to be professional. You got to show that you consider it as a business, not just a hobby. And you've got to show people this, whether it's investors or record labels or whatever.
You mentioned that like every artist has a certain shape or form or a style. Like, are some of these styles more successful than others?
Well, here's the funny part about that. It's back to successful. To me, success is you're doing what you love to do and you're earning a comfortable living. So now I got to remember back to what was your exact question again?
Yeah, like are there certain types which are more successful
Oh,
or probably to be more successful than others?
it depends on what you call successful. Uh, yeah, hip hop's big, but it doesn't matter. If it's really great and you put your effort into it, that can work. And here's a funny little thing. You talk about the major labels and they have these millions of artists and very few, millions of fans, and very few little money goes down to the artist. But if you can find your own niche or niche, it depends on which way you pronounce it. Britain, it's niche, and the United States, it's niche. Your own little collection. If you get, excuse me, if you get 20,000 real fans that are willing to spend $100 American a year on you, that's $2 million. And most people I know could live off $2 million of United States money. So you should do music that you feel, that's real. You shouldn't do something just because it's popular. Do something because you really believe in it. And you believe, of course, that you want to be unique but marketable. And marketable just means somebody's going to buy your stuff. It should be stuff that people can identify with. But it could be any style of music. If you're really great at it, you're going to go to the top with effort. Yes, effort.
Excellent. My next question, yeah, take your time, Professor.
Excuse me?
Yeah, take your time, take your time. Yeah, great. In this age of technology and everything can be done on the computer and on the internet, where does creativity stand?
creativity is still very important, but you do have to make use of the internet and things like that. I never had that opportunity. And nowadays, more and more people have the opportunity because you could do it yourself. Yes, I mean, people will, equipment's gotten much cheaper than it used to be. The prices have really dropped from when I started out. It would cost an insane amount of money. But you just take that, that effort and that creativity and you just start working with it.
You mentioned, like in one of your posts, about tips for new singers and new music entrepreneurs. What main tips would you like to say?
My main tips. My main tips are learn as much as you can about the business that you're going to make your life about. From the creative side, you want to put your heart into it. It's got to come from your heart. You got to feel what you're doing. You shouldn't be, you can't think and feel at the same time. This is especially towards artists. I work with creative people and the business people. The artists need to put their heart into it. When you can always tell in an audience, if you're at a club or whatever, when there isn't a virus going on and things, you can see if people are talking to each other, the artist is not communicating with you. They're thinking about too many things. They're not feeling, they're thinking about, can I hit this note? Do I remember the words to the song? I have a hot date later on or whatever, they got to put their creativity and everything into it. It's a process. It does take time. Some of the biggest artists took a while to get started. I think of Muse, for example, it's a very big rock band that came out of England and stuff like that. It took like 10 years of staying together and working together till they became really well known, and they're still well known 10 years later after that. It does take the creativity part. You must learn your craft, the business. You got to learn the business so you protect yourself and you know what you're doing. And very important nowadays is what they call branding, your image, what you're marketing, to ways to make money and things like that. Your image is based upon how you look, the way you sound, the way the audience sees you and stuff. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm like a walking brand because nobody looks like me. So that does help matters some. But if you look at any of the major people, they stand out. And another funny thing about major people is that the major artists, the major people that really stand out, they're unique. In other words, and what happens that are unique is that people will love you or hate you, but it doesn't matter. It's better to be loved and hated by a lot of people than just liked by people. Love and hated, you're always in the news. They're always talking about you. Yeah, you shouldn't be with that person. Yeah, that person's great. They're talking about you. You are unique. You stand out from the crowd.
And what is the difference in thinking and in mentality between when you were young and now you have enough experience?
Oh, the experience, you cannot replace experience. It's like I tell my students, I could teach from here to forever. You got to go out and do it. And don't be afraid of making mistakes. The people that become the most successful are the ones that made the most mistakes. You can't have a fear of making mistakes. You can't have a fear of failure. You can't have a fear of success. There have been people, they feel they don't deserve to be successful. And I'm not going to get into all the mental things that start there, but mental health is a very big thing in the music industry of staying sane. That's why one of my books is called God Didn't Create Alarm Clocks. And what it is, it's helping you to understand yourself and helping you to understand people you're dealing with as people. besides the business and the legal. And you can find everything on my site.
Yeah, you have written a number of books. Could you take us on a short journey or what every book is about?
Okay. The first book was just called The Music Biz. The first edition was 1984, and I keep updating it because the music industry constantly changes. That's the overall book. In 4 sections, it talks about songwriting and publishing, because you need that underlying song that starts everything off. There's the performing aspect, the entertaining aspect, which is very important nowadays with that image part. You need to be not just a singer, it's multimedia. You need to be an entertainer, keeping everybody's, thoughts on you. The third section is recording. And the fourth section is it's a business and learning about the business end. So that's the Music Biz book. Then I have 4 courses. One course is songwriting and publishing. I always teach from both sides. So the songwriter knowing how to do the business end of a publisher, but also the publisher, what to look for in songs and songwriters. Then I do with artist development and manager. You have the artist, the creative person, and their business person, the manager. Just like, by the way, songwriter's a creative person, their business person is a publisher. Then I have producing, production companies, and indie labels. And the producing is the creative. A producer is equal in music, is equal to a director of a film. They're guiding you throughout the process. That's the creative side. Then there are production companies and record companies. You can nowadays form your own indie label. That's the great part about the internet. The field has been leveled. And then the last book I have is a mini book. It's called Entertainment Law Basics, I believe it's called. And I just write the books, the titles I forget. But it's an entertainment law basics book. It's about learning about the things in common. I don't expect you to be a lawyer. You hear the way I'm talking. I speak in plain, simple language. That's the way I write. I believe in when I'm being interviewed or it's in a book or whatever, it sounds like a conversation and people are comfortable learning about this stuff, and it's what they also call edutainment. But people learn when they're having more fun and stuff, and we like to have fun with things. Then the last 2 books, one is called Professor Pooch's Important Points to Ponder. It's just a book with lots and lots of tips on all kinds of things and situations I've run into through my career. And then there's the book I mentioned, God Didn't Create Alarm Clocks, where that title came out of the heavens. I have no idea where it came from, but it's just that, if you're, this is not the industrial age, this is the digital age. And the schooling systems, I can get into the whole thing, which I'm not going to, is a lot of schooling, especially in the United States, they raise you to get a job, not a career. And they don't want you being creative. They want you to learn this thing and go to this job and work here for the rest of your life and retire at 65. Like people say, Pooch, you're not going to retire, aren't you? I said, no, in the music industry, you don't retire, you die. And it's like, and I'm having fun. I mean, I've been doing it 50 years. I've been able to do it full time. One thing that does help, it's called MSI, multiple sources of income. You're an entertainer. Why not also do acting in film? Why don't you, if you're a songwriter, why don't you write a book? Why don't you do screenwriting, which is for films? Why don't you spread out? If you're creative in anything, and believe it or not, everybody is creative. It's like a muscle. You got to work it, But, create what you can and have these different sources of income. Books. I'm a lecturer. I teach. I do this. I do that. But I enjoy the variety of it.
Yeah, that's a very important point. Okay, my next question would be about, take your turn, Professor.
Just I talk, my mouth gets dry. Go ahead.
Yeah. My next question is about the future of music. Where do you see the music going in the near future?
Well, when you say the near future, we are in the world of a virus, and whatever that old normal was, it's not coming back in life, let alone in music. And I've written articles in this because a lot of people, they want to be out there entertaining, and they're stuck in their homes. I mean, I'm lucky. I work out of, this is, might call it the Pooch Palace. It's the third floor of my house. I could do everything here. You see microphones and instruments, and I can do everything here. I'm lucky. But these people, you have to adjust to your situation, but do it in a way that you're still being you. What I've been doing is just, I can continue on, but a lot of people have had these problems adjusting to the virus. They can't go out, they can't do this, they can't have lots of people at a club or a venue to see them perform. You have to adjust. Where does music going from here? It's wherever you decide it's going, you meaning everybody. But you have the internet. You got to keep up to date with what's going on. You can't just, think, live in the past. The idea is you learn from the past. Yes, it could, but you got to participate in the present to prepare for the future. So try to, my advice would be to try to, I actually, I should not use the word try. Try is a negative word. Just do it. Okay. Trying is one step away from doing. It's thinking about it instead of doing. But you should be working on your music continuously. You're stuck, write more songs, put songs out. If you have your own publishing, your own record company, put them out yourself. People say to me, well, Pooch, when should I put this album out? When should I put the song out? I say, you want to put a song out? Put it out. You're your own boss. It's not like the old days where you have to sit with the major label and they put you out on their time schedule. You could do whatever you want, whenever you want. You have control. You just got to do it. And that's the future, is where you take it and everybody else is taking it. But you have a choice. You can watch the world go by you, or you can take control of your own life and move forward with your music the way you want to. Which way the music's going to go, the styles and stuff. Since the 1960s, all kinds of music have fused together. Maybe you have a background in country or in island music or whatever kind of music, and find who you are, what you like. Everybody was raised with whatever that was being played in your house, or to radios, TVs, whatever. Just make sure it's you, it's real, and other people can identify with what you are saying. If you're just writing something that's just about you, that nobody else could picture themselves ever going through, or things like that, you should be writing about stuff that people can identify with when you're the writing end. Performing end, just put your whole heart into it. Whatever style of music, it doesn't matter what style of music it is. I like all kinds. To me, there's not different styles of music. It's just good or it ain't. In other words, a great song and a great recording, what it will do, this is my words to it, it takes you on like a short vacation to another dimension, to another universe. A song, you hear it, and it just takes you someplace and makes you feel good. Or if it's a dance type song, it makes you want to get up and dance. To me, it doesn't matter what style of music you're in. It's just do the best you can and make it real and put your heart into it. It's about using your heart, the music. Just don't mix up things. Your music should come from your heart. The business part should come from your brain. Don't reverse them. It's very important. And trust your gut. You know if something feels right, and it does take effort. There's been times when I've written a song like the words or something, and that I might take 3 sheets of paper on one sentence to get it feeling right. One of the big mistakes people make is they just try to rhyme and everything right away, and it takes you out of the mood of where you're at. Just write your feelings down first, then you can make it fit into a song, kind of a thing, so you don't lose that feeling you were in.
What else would you like to say today about the life in music business?
Well, if we have a few years, I'll be happy to come on again and go more into specific stuff like that. What I do recommend, it's what they call a shameless plug, but if you go to my site, professorpooch.com, and the free library has a lot of free articles. It shows you how to start your own record label. It shows you the importance of understanding that this is a multimedia world. It's not just music, it's TV, film, it's multimedia. It's all the media works together now. And if you want to, like on the front page, if you go down, there's the different programs that I do with education. I'm an educator. But if you want to check out, I highly recommend you check out the near the top of the home page. It'll give you a link to click on a picture of me and somebody else, the host, and we do this show. And you should check out the show. And we're already got 5 or 6 episodes up. It's going to be out every Tuesday and Friday. And what it does, it shows you not only, it doesn't just teach you the music business, it shows you how to use your creativity to take it someplace, to solve problems, things like that. Don't be afraid of it. Learn the industry. Yes, it's like what I do is I learn, this stuff and experienced it, go through the experiences. It's worth it. Even if you make mistakes, don't worry about it. A mistake is not you don't fail unless you quit. So if it's a mistake, learn from the mistake and move forward. This could work in any business. But if you watch the show or listen to it on a podcast, it's both video and audio, and I'll be taking you through life's experiences in the music industry.
It has been more than interesting, more than fantastic talking to you, Professor Pooch, and your great assistance and knowledge. Thank you so much for that indeed.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'll be happy to come on again and go into deeper subjects. I know we only have so much time.
Certainly, Doctor. Thank you, Professor.